You know what time it is? Do you know what time it is? Do you know what time it is? You know what time it is? Do you? It's Aero time. How is it going, everyone? This is Griffin Spear here, and it's time for our first monthly AGA. Ask Griff Anything. So just as a heads up, I am not going to answer everyone's question because I want this AGA to be a bit concise, somewhere between 10 to 20 minutes. And if your question did not get picked, it does not mean that I hate you. It just means I didn't have enough time. So if you guys want to, you can save the question if I did not answer it. And in the next AGA, go ahead and paste it, and I might pick it next time. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's answer our first question. Justin Patrusevich asks, what do you think about the current rules package that the NASCAR Cup Series is currently running? I say it is getting better from last year and the last few years, but it still needs work. And so the way I think about it is I like high downforce. I was not a fan of them losing the downforce, and sure, it had a gimmick or whatever of them being more loose and them being more, I wouldn't say normal, but like they're not as aerodynamic. But in turn, I honestly think it made the racing as a whole not as better. And it's a step in the right direction, but if I were to take control, I actually would not have the spoiler be so high, and I would slowly but surely bring the car back to the Gen 4 format. So the spoiler is still a bit high, but pick the cars up off the ground, replace the splitter with the valence, and have them be as straight as possible, because those little, waves or whatever, like the dents that are on the sides of the car, it affects the racing for sure, because all the air is pushed around in different areas, and thus cars cannot get close to each other. So if we can move more toward that, the racing will be better, more fans will come, and in turn, more die-casts will be made. Erich Keplinger asks, what Michael Waltrip merchandise do you have? Excellent question, Eric. So one thing that I had, past tense, is that when I was a kid, I actually had a Michael Waltrip t-shirt from 2001. I could not find the design of the t-shirt online. If I do find it down the road, I will post it on my social media, which is, shameless plug, but it is in the description below. If I do find it, I'll post it there, but it was a very old design and we sold it at a garage sale, so that's why I don't have it anymore. What I have, however, and I'll have a separate shot here, I have a card, and it's the Michael Waltrip car that he drove in the mid-90s of the 30 Pennzoil car. And then I have 12 1/64 scale diecasts, including Michael Waltrip's 1997 car, the Ford Thunderbird, Michael Waltrip's Band-Aid car from the Busch Series, his Citgo car from 1998, the Special Olympics car from 1998, the Phillips number 7 car from 1999, the Nation's Rent car from 2000, and then his Napa cars from 2001, 2002, 2003, his Aaron's car from 2002, Napa Nilla car from 2003 that he drove in, I believe, the Winston, which is now the All-Star race, and then finally, Michael Waltrip's 2013 Aaron's Toyota. So, not a lot of diecasts, but that is all I have of Mikey. I do not have any 1/24 scale yet, but hopefully that can change soon. CodyHGaming asks, what is your favorite Packers game you've ever watched? Super Bowl 45. And just as a side note, I am a Packers fan. Big reason why: G on the side of the head, G Green Bay, G Griffin. Favorite color is yellow, and they have yellow on their helmets. Super Bowl 45 was incredible. And note, the Packers were a wildcard team at the time. So, seeing them go to Philly, beat Philly, go to Atlanta, beat the Falcons, and then go to Chicago and beat them in the NFC Championship game, and then go to Dallas and beat Pittsburgh Steelers, it was such a blur at the time. I wish I could go back and be there for the moment, but it was an absolute good time, and I'm so glad to see the Packers win the Super Bowl. And just as a side note, I became a fan of the Packers in the late 90s, early 2000s, so I did not see them win the Super Bowl back in 1995. Brett Moon26 asks, if you could be in charge of what diecast get released in stores, what changes would you make? And just as a side note, he did ask 4 questions, but this is the one I'm going to answer because this one interests me. So Brett, to answer your question, the short answer is every diecast that's available for pre-order will get made regardless. And my thinking is simply this. I've talked about it in a separate video, but I'll talk about it again. The idea of actually seeing the car, like actually in front of you, versus seeing a rendered car on social media or online, big difference, I think. Because sure, you can see the car on a computer screen and like, sure, like the thought of it is interesting, but I have this feeling, and there's no, or at least I don't know if there's any research behind this, but I have this feeling that if you get or if you see the car in person, you have more of an inkling to buy it, which is actually a big reason why I became such a diecast collector. I cared more about what I saw in the stores versus, what I could potentially pre-order before. And there's something a lot more intriguing about seeing the actual car versus seeing it online. And so that I would go ahead and I would make every car regardless, with the hopes that the first batch or whatever, they do get sold. And then if there is a high demand, then I would go ahead and do like a second and third order of that specific car. But if for whatever reason, like one car, like let's just say for example, what was a car that's recently been canceled? Matt Tiff's car. That was a car I really wanted to get, but that car was canceled because there weren't that many pre-orders. My thinking is, if that car could be made, not that many people of course would probably get it at first, but once you see that car through its rotation and through, like the back lot of the different racetracks and in stores, then people would want it. It's the idea of that cars will eventually be sold. And sure, and I think they're, and I don't know Lionel, but I wonder if they're thinking they want to try to get as many, or they have an idea of how many would be sold. And sure, it's an easier way to do it, but not that many diecasts are also being made at the same time. So that is what I would do, and all diecasts should be made. Very straightforward. Zippyshippy asks, does this count as a question? Yes. Reverend Rasheem Stewart asks, who is your biggest influence / role model in my life and on YouTube? That is a good question. And before I answer that question, I did hear that your birthday is coming up, so happy birthday. I believe it's your 40th, so happy birthday. Also, thank you so much for your service. I am so grateful for your service, and I could not be doing this if it weren't for you. So thank you so much for, again, your service. So to answer your question, in my life, I would say my father, because he really, I think, raised me up right. It's a yin and yang. Like, he did teach me what is right and what is wrong, but then also there are times where he wouldn't say anything and he would purposely be off to the side. And it was up to me to figure out if something is right or wrong for myself. Because as you know, the best way to learn is by doing it. So having him as a role model is super appreciative, and if he does watch this, thank you so much for all the support during my entire 25 years of living. Now, in terms of YouTube, the answer I'm going to give now, his name is Chris Stuckman. I don't know if he knows that I exist, but Chris, if you guys didn't know, is I would say, successful YouTuber. He reviews movies. All movies that are either just released in movie theaters, or sometimes he would do like old classics. He talks about movies. But the reason why he is a role model and why I look up to him is nowadays he actually is making films. He's doing his own short films and he's submitting them to different film festivals, and that's actually someone I'm going to talk about a little later. Mitchell Collins asks, "Hey Griff, what's your opinion on Joey Logano?" Oh, okay, and his avatar is Joey Logano car. Okay. I'll be honest, because, you know, you asked and I'll give you my honest opinion. I am mixed on Joey. I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of him, but I don't necessarily hate him either. What I like about him is his smile. Like, I appreciate him, you know, looking or at least being happy. I mean, even when he's not happy, it looks like he's happy, so good for him. But the true thing that I do like about him is when there's a win on the line and he has an opportunity to get the win, he's not afraid to use his front bumper to get the win. And so after the Martinsville race, I have a lot more respect for Logano. Now, the big reason I'm not a fan of him is because he falls under the same kind of gaze as other drivers that, as CodyHGaming put it, leeches. And this is enough content for another video, but because Logano did a lot of stuff in the Busch series, the Nationwide / Xfinity series, while he was in the Cup series, kind of left a bad taste in my mouth in that regard. But otherwise, he's okay. And as I said, I could talk about the whole leech thing in a whole another video. RawGator asks, "How long does it take you to eat 4 saltine crackers?" Oh, this is so dumb. Okay. Oh, this is so dumb. Why'd you make me do this? Is that what you guys wanted? Is that the content you guys wanted? Me eating saltine crackers? Is that the quality stuff that you wanted? Thank you, RawGator, for making me eat 4 saltine crackers in front of all you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and hopefully I don't have to do that again. So, thanks, RawGator. Sonic Rules 831 asks, "Hey Griff, I'm graduating college on May 11th. Any words of advice or tips you can give to me or anyone graduating college?" So this is another video that I could definitely, or another thing I could do as another whole video, but some tips and advice I would give is simply try to plan or give yourself an idea for what you want to do in the future as much as possible, whether that is getting a job, or do you need to do more schooling like grad school, who do you need to get in touch with, connections, and not just new connections, but also stay in touch with your old connections because they might come in handy someday. And just giving yourself an idea of what is to come. And I don't know what your degree is, but hopefully you can use it to some use, because I mean, you went to college for Pete's sake, so you might as well put your degree to good use. Yeah, and I would just say keep connecting with people, and especially it's tough nowadays because everyone is on their phones and on social media, so you can connect with them there, but try your best to keep in touch like person to person, but also be open to new possibilities as well. The last question I'm going to answer, and this will kind of segue into kind of the updates, comes from Aero Racing Designs, who asked a excellent question, in my opinion. Aero Racing Designs asked, "Have you always been into animating and drawing, or is this a new thing? Either way, everything looks great. Griffin, Spear, Dog." Let's talk about this, because I think this is important. So I did talk about it a little bit in my change video, but I guess starting things off, health-wise, I feel so much clear. Like, I do feel better, but just, I would say mentally. It has been years since I felt this clear mentally. Like, I have a strong idea for where I want to go path-wise. And it feels great. It feels great. Like, I feel so much more ready to create more content. And I cannot wait to show you guys that. So, to answer your question, is this a new thing? Yes and no. Yes, mostly just on your end because you guys really haven't seen much of the animation and drawings that I have done. But one thing to note is, and some of you know this, but my degree in college is actually in studio arts. And then I do have a minor in film and media studies. And I'm definitely more in tune to the artsy side. And I mean, I'm totally down with the video part, but just, colors and just thinking differently is great, and I love that, and I want to keep going with that. So, on that note, talking about future projects and future stuff I'm working on, there are 3 bigger projects that I've been asked constantly, and I'm not gonna pull out specific examples of who asked what, because multiple people asked this. The 3 projects are the 10 Winners Challenge, One More Spark, my finger, okay. 10 Winners Challenge, One More Spark, and the Summer Showdown. So I just want to talk briefly about each of those. The 10 Winners Challenge, the reason why it's called a 10 Winners Challenge is because for me, simulating the same 2-lap or 3-lap dash multiple times gets long. It's not that it's tough, it's just time consuming. And it's a fun thing, and so when you see the final outcome, it's fun seeing the same start, but then how it ends is completely different, and I see the appeal in that, and I mean, I do enjoy making it. Problem is, it's time consuming. Now, before I move on, I do want to acknowledge, I do still have the full-time job. I'm still working 40 hours a week. So even though I love creating new stuff, I just don't have as much time as I did when I made the 10 Winners Challenge series back in 2017. Because back then, I had a part-time job, but now I have a full-time job. So I don't have as much time to work on it. When I do have more time, I will go ahead and work more on that. But there's more as well to the answer. Before I talk about One More Spark, I will say that the Summer Showdown is still going to happen. It will not be as big as 2018. I want to give you guys a warning on that. The Summer Showdown will not be as big, but I'll still have a good time with it, and we can all enjoy a nice, fun little race. Now, in terms of One More Spark, going back to the time thing, now even if I do have all the time in the world, the big thing you gotta consider is time and then also finances too. Because if I quit my job, which I won't because the job is great, if I quit the job and I focus on nothing but One More Spark, there are 2 problems with that. One, the time consumption on that is ridiculous considering everything I do, because what I said I was going to do with One More Spark was doing full races, going in depth with the cars, painting cars and the results, and then creating all the different story arcs that are within there. And as great as that sounds, that would also drive me insane. And to be honest, I don't want to commit that far down. And as much as I love Enter 2003, I can only do so much with that game. And sure, it's what you guys can consider the most realistic in the physics game area. I can only do so much, and to be quite honest, I want to branch out. I want to branch out and I want to create different things. So, going back to the drawing side, I've been drawing stuff for years, but I have not really posted that on my social media stuff because for the longest time it's a, NASCAR space. And this is the part that I know is going to be a bit tough especially for myself, because I know that not many of you will watch. But I do want to make other content that's not specifically related to NASCAR. And that's where the animation comes into play. So as you guys know, I did get the entire Adobe family. So like right now I do have Premiere, Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects, Audition, the works. And that's where that I'm Normal video came into play, which, you know, I am normal. I want to delve into the effects that they have in there and just how much potential I can, you know, unload, if you will. And so some of the animation stuff, like what I want to delve into is like classic 2D animation. And on that note, later this weekend, I'm actually going to post my first show review. And I have a feeling that not many people are going to watch it, but it gives me a way to talk about this stuff because honestly, that is something I'm really passionate about. So been talking about like passion of NASCAR, like it's there, but you can only talk about so much of it. Like, sure, you got different drivers winning the race, but I think the thing that I'm personally not a fan of in the NASCAR space is just all the politics. Like all of the moving back to single car qualifying, which is great, but it's just like, you know, just let it happen. And there are just times where I just really don't care about the politics and just let the boys race. But anyway, going back to just the stuff I want to create, as I said before, I do not want to create something that is big. And so like going to the animation, like shorts, like stuff that I can create like just in a week and then post it out there. And what I want to do is I want to build like a portfolio. And at some point, maybe go ahead and create my own show. And use that and like, kind of random, but what I want to bounce off of is, remember how I said before that I'm down with collaborating? There are quite a few like voice actors out there that I know of that have a lot of potential, but don't really have a place to go with it. If I can make this role, I can give them kind of an outlet to show off their voice acting potential. Yeah, and that's really the route I want to go, is just, you know, and then the biggest thing too is I want to have fun with this. I want to have fun, I want to create different wacky things, and I know I'm going all over the place with this answer, but going back to Inner 2003, and actually one person did ask, is there any projects or anything on the table for me? Yes. And I'm going to make another video down the road, kind of, and it'll be like the start of this series. It is a series, but it's like, it's a series, but it's not connected, if you know what I mean. And I'll explain it more later, but the way I see it, it's like, it's going to be like One More Spark and the Inner 2003 shorts that I made and put those together. And the biggest thing that I want to work on is story, the art of the story. Because I love me a good story. One that has a good beginning, middle, and end. One with strong character arcs. And one that there's a lot of passion and love involved. Now I know that not a lot of you guys support that. But there comes a point where it's like, I also want to do something that I enjoy. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed working on One More Spark when I did. I enjoyed working on the Summer Showdown. And I also enjoyed working on What If Dale Earnhardt Was Still Alive when that happened. But times have changed. My mind has really shifted, if you will. And like, I'm still gonna definitely do NASCAR stuff. Like, that's not going away. I do want to emphasize that. That is not going away anytime soon. But I want to expand out. Because I mentioned in a previous video, I want to expand out so then I can take that new information, bring it back around in like the other NASCAR content, and just overall make it all better. And then, as I just said before, I want to let other people in and, you know, build that connection. Because in like Alex's question, a Sonic Rules question, talking about collaborating and talking with other people, that's something that I need to do too, is reach out to other people, talk to other people, get that ball rolling, because I can only do so much by myself. I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate about creating stuff, creating different stories, making different stories, showing off stories in different ways, whether it is either stop motion animation or traditional animation. And the biggest thing is I am going to put a lot of love into it, because the stuff that I make, I care about. And you guys know about that. You guys know that I definitely care about my craft. And I'm not a fan of just pooping out videos for the sake of having videos. If the camera is placed differently, it's because my card was full and I had to actually delete some other videos that were on this card, so that's why it's a little different. But anyway, I do want to thank you guys so much for your questions. I do apologize for not answering everyone's, but as I said, if you want to save your questions, you guys are more than welcome to. And then the next time I do the next AGA, which will be at the end of next month, you guys can go ahead and paste those questions into the comment section down below, and I might pick those. So that'll do it for me. And then the last thing I do want to mention is that I will be at Kansas Speedway on May 11th, and we will go from there. So that'll do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching this first AGA. I expect to do more of these, at least once a month, and we'll go from there. So this is Griff and Spear saying so long until next time.